Bawazi kingdom grew and was the largest both in size and population, and attracted so many natives from other lands, and Kipo made sure he persevered the legacy of his late father, the legendary King of Bawazi Fluko. Kipo's influence grew and he amassed the strongest army amongst all other kingdoms. His army was a force to reckon with. Kipo was a very generous king and his people loved him for that. He would even organize a feast where he distributes gifts and foodstuffs just to help those who have little or nothing to survive on. As Kipo's love and support from his subjects grew, his younger brother Jetto, the king of Zipporah, became jealous of his brother's success and began to devise a means to kill his brother and take over throne from him and rule over Bawazi and Zipporah as its legendary king. Despite Kipo's success and growth, his kingdom lacked something that was very crucial with civilization, which is technological advancement. Kipo did not put his interest in advancing in the modern-day technology as he was focused on agriculture, textile, mining, arts and craft and large-scale fishing, and lots more, and this contributed to the prosperity the kingdom of Bawazi enjoyed. On the other hand, Jetto focused more on technological advancement. He produced automobiles and weapons like guns and military tanks. Kipo would always buy machines for work from his brother Jetto. Kipo felt safe in his kingdom because as at that time there was peace amongst every kingdom, and they all never worried of anything. Bawazi kingdom enjoyed great peace, but unknowing to Kipo that a great plot that would lead to his capture was being hatched by his one and only beloved younger brother Jetto, the king of Zipporah. Jetto became fierce even to his people. He would demand they pay more taxes and he showed no mercy to whomever defaults. Despite all, the people of Zipporah dare not make any negative remarks as they consider him a god, and he had once bought the hearts of his people by offering them rent-free homes, and this always made the people of Zipporah overlook his wicked behavior and attitude. Jetto would always seize beautiful young girls as wives in his kingdom, and some ladies saw it as a privilege to be the wife of the king, while others were not happy with it but were powerless to resist. Meanwhile, Kipo's elder sister Akira vanished and never returned. On the 25th anniversary of Kipo's reign, the whole kingdom was so colorful and well decorated to celebrate Kipo, and all the villagers have prepared various gifts that they would present to their loving king. Jetto was on the other hand plotting how to seize the king without coming up as suspicious. With his advanced technology, Jetto and his loyal hundreds of special workers dug an underground tunnel that leads up to the bedroom of Kipo. This plan and activity have been going on for years without a trace, so Kipo wanted the abduction of the king to be on the anniversary night so his disappearance won't be noticed since everyone will be so indulged. As expected, Jetto was present at the anniversary with his wife and 2 daughters. There were lots of excitement and the king's palace was full with energetic dancers and different exotic kinds of food. The place was well lit up and everyone had a good time. The occasion was over, and everyone left to their various homes, and so did Jetto. So Kipo retired to his room and went to sleep as he was very tired. The next morning when Kipo's wife Eminado woke up and couldn't find her husband, at first she thought that we went to use the toilet. But after a long time the king was not back, so she thought he had left for his royal duties. Still, Eminado the queen was still worried as she said to herself, "I sense something bad must have happened to my husband." So she quickly drew the attention of the guards with a loud cry for help, and a group of guards ran to her asking her what the problem was. She asked them if they have seen the king this morning, but they answered that the king hasn't left his room since morning. So an alarm was struck and all the major and minor gates was shut down. So after 3 days search into the kingdom and outside the kingdom, a message was sent to Jetto about his brother missing. Jetto ran down immediately he heard the news. So according to the laws of both Bawazi and Zipporah, it is a taboo for a woman to ascend the throne, both temporarily and permanently. For that reason Eminado could not act on behalf of her missing husband the king, and her only child Emoyo was still 19 years old, not old enough to become king temporarily or permanently because according to the empire of both Bawazi and Zipporah, you must be at least 20 years old in order to become king. All this became a valid reason for Jetto the king of Zipporah and the younger brother to Kipo the king of Bawazi to become an acting king of Bawazi. According to the laws of Bawazi, if after 12 months the king is absent, the acting king becomes king of both kingdoms. So Jetto sent for a search party to look for his brother, so the whole palace thought Jetto was really concerned about his brother's disappearance. Months passed and no one has heard about the disappearance of Kipo the king, but some people refused to give up, while others gave up. So Eminodo was so concerned about her husband's the king's disappearance. So she started to carry out her investigation as to how the king's disappearance left no trace, so it became really suspicious to her, but she didn't know who to suspect as everyone in the palace began to look really bad to her. Eminodo had 2 personal guards assigned to her by her husband. These men were among the 8 most trusted and powerful and skillful guards picked by the king himself. They have served the king right from when the king was a leader in the army of Bawazi soldier. They gave their heart and life for the king and put his life as their priorities. They were the king's most trusted advisors. So for that the king put 2 of these men as guards over his wife and 2 over his son Emowayo and kept 4 with him. So Eminodo consulted her 2 personal guards to help with the remaining 6 guards to privately investigate about the disappearance of the king. She asked them to thoroughly search the king's bedroom for any secret exit. So the search began, and they searched the entire palace room by room and also checked around the courtyard. And they also searched the king's room but found nothing. So they felt hopeless as they found nothing, so this made the queen Eminodo so scared and concerned about the safety and well-being of her only son Emowayo. Emowayo went out one day to take his sword and martial art lessons with his 2 guards. He was attacked by unknown men covered in masks, but he was managed to escape with the help of his highly trained guards and they got to the palace where felt safer for them. This made Eminodo even more scared for her son's life, so she decided to take him away from the palace to a neighboring kingdom called Tubalu, of which her husband the king had originally supported with farm produce and rescued them from starvation. But she did not go as the queen, she went as an ordinary lady away from the knowledge of the people of Tubalu. So she rented a modest place for her son and made provision of foodstuffs for up to 12 months. He remained indoors not to be seen by the people of Tubalu and no one knew about his location except the 8 guards. Jetto became worried as to where Emowayo was because he knew Moyo would turn 20 years and ascend the throne as the next king, and if that happens, all his plans to be the legendary king will be foiled. So he would ask Eminodo from time to time, showing interest as though he was concerned about the well-being of the child, but Eminodo would always tell him the son went for a training in a school that trains young men to be good kings. The response he got from Eminodo also drives him crazy because he has no control on the situation, even though he knows that Eminodo was lying, but there was practically nothing he could do, since he couldn't banish her because she still remains the queen. Kipo was kept in prison hidden in the kingdom of Zipporah and he was treated like a common prisoner. This was the 9th-month reign of Jetto. Jetto was always worried about Emowayo, because if Emowayo is alive he can never become the legendary king he wishes to become, so he sent secret guards to disguise as normal people to search for him. They could not find Emowayo, and the king grew more frustrated. At the 10th month of his reign he started to become more aggressive and evil and even started to demand excessive tax from the people of Bawazi just like he did to the people of Zipporah, and the people of Bawazi started to murmur and complain about his rulership. He became more angry as the day went by, knowing that his reign will be cut short soon. The people of Bawazi have a tradition of honoring whoever is king over them. In fact, it is a taboo in the land of Bawazi to disrespect or dishonor the king in any way. Even the guards and the soldiers are bound by law and oath to put the king first before anyone, so this made whoever is king of Bawazi untouchable and very powerful. Both Jetto and Eminodo knew this very well in their heart and both tried as much as possible to win the cause of their intentions. Even though the people of Bawazi prayed for their King Kipo to return and rule over them again, they still honored Jetto, who is temporarily ruling over them. The people of Bawazi started to experience starvation and their properties began to be seized by the king, which has never occurred in the reign of Kipo, for he was a generous and kind king. One day Jetto sent for the Queen of Bawazi, Eminodo, and requested she came into the room to see him. It is a taboo in the land of Bawazi to have an affair with the king, but Jetto, being the king at the moment, used his power to demand her into his room. When she got to the room, she asked him why he called her, but he refused to speak and only asked her to come closer and not defy his order as the king. She reminded him, "I am still the wife of your elder brother the king, and touching me in a manner like this is considered a taboo and can get us killed." But Jetto ignores her warning and went on to also remind her, saying, "You may be my brother's wife, but I am the king now, your husband cannot do anything and my order is absolute and final," pulling her forward on the arm vigorously. But she resisted and struggled with him and in the process hit him with a flower vase on the head, and she freed herself and ran away. Jetto screams in pain and ordered the guards to go after her, but the guards couldn't do it because they were under the law and oath never to carry out an order to touch or harm the queen except on the order of the king himself and not a foster king. This is the only power which Jetto did not have, the power to touch or harm the queen. So Jetto started to scheme a way to kill the queen so as to make sure that the chance of her son surviving is little. But the queen, being such a wise person, secretly left the palace 3 days later after the incident with Jetto the king. Jetto became more furious and couldn't not tell the next move of Queen Eminodo and decided to call for the people of Bawazi to gather before the palace. He addressed them, "The great people of Bawazi, as you all know, in a month's time I will be the crowned king of this great palace and I will make sure that every one of you prosper and be treated well. All I ask of you is your continuous loyalty, for I shall reduce the burden of your tax and give each poor household a male and a female cattle and 15 bags of grains each." The people cheered in response, while some did not, for they did not like him and believed it was a deception. He continues, "The Queen Eminodo defied my order, and as you all know it is a taboo for anyone to do that to the king. For that she ran away, and whoever can bring me the queen dead or alive will be rewarded greatly and be with me in my palace." And the people exclaimed in disbelief, each one saying to another, "What has come upon our land?" For they were so sad of the announcement because they really loved the queen, as she was also kind and generous like the husband. They all went home sad and in shock for what they have heard, and this became the talk of the town. Meanwhile the queen disguised her face with a white cloth as usually the way foreigners dress in Bawazi, so she was unnoticed. The announcement went far and wide, and some people took it upon themselves to hunt down the queen so as to receive their huge prize. Jetto attempted to change the laws of Bawazi in order to make himself the legendary king of Bawazi by all means, but he couldn't do it without the consent of the 10 chiefs of Bawazi because he was not yet the official king, only when he can change the law without their consent, so this made Jetto even more scared about losing thr throne. It is 7 days to Emowayo's 20th birthday. Jetto becomes more aggressive into searching for both the queen and the prince. He felt the throne slipping off from him and knew it was going to result to a war between Bawazi and Zipporah. He tried to bribe the 10 chiefs of Bawazi to compromise and change the law, but the 10 chiefs were not ready to give in into corruption, for they fought for Bawazi all their lives and not ready to destroy the future of the land which they had labored for. Jetto threatened to kill them if they refused and expel them from the palace, but they were not scared because he didn't have the signet ring of the king and therefore cannot expel them. So Jetto planned to kill every one of the 10 chiefs, so he invited them over for a feast to thank them for all their hard work for the kingdom of Bawazi. They all attended, both with their wives and children. The feast was colorful and of happy moments. To the unsuspecting chiefs he had poisoned their drinks, but 4 chiefs felt something was going to wrong and asked their families not to touch any drink but can have the meals prepared, for the same meals came from the pot as that of the king. So after the night of feasting, the 6 unsuspecting chiefs with their families who drank the wine given to them died in their sleep, and the next morning was full of cry and mourning. The king heard about it and visited and was saddened about it only in pretense. But he wondered why the rest chiefs and their family did not die also, even though he saw them put the cups in their mouths. He got so worried and accused the chiefs of committing the murderous act of their fellow chiefs and their families, so he arrested them and put their entire family on house arrest. Bawazi, that was once peaceful and prosperous, became a place of unhappiness. Without the chiefs a new king cannot emerge, so even though the queen came back with Moyo, he cannot be made king without the chiefs that were alive, so Eminodo, the queen, was very helpless. So she thought of sneaking in the prince 3 days before his birthday to a secret house in the palace which Jetto did not know of because Kipo had built it after he became king. Only the trusted special 8 guards knew about it. So on 3rd day, Eminodo with the help of the trusted special 8 guards sneaked the prince into the palace. Jetto wanted to leave no room for mistake, ordered the palace to be shut down, meaning no going out or coming in until he has been pronounced the legendary king of both Bawazi and Zipporah. The guards to the prison knows that the 8 special guards of the king were in higher authority over all the guards in the palace, so they took orders directly from them. But Jetto did not know the king has 8 special guards, and he was never told because no one else knew they were of special service to the king and his family. So the night before the prince's 20th birthday, the guards dressed up in their official attire, and so they were not recognized by the king as the 8 guards that followed the king's family around. On getting to where the chiefs were locked up, they ordered the guards to release the chiefs in the name of the king, and the unsuspecting guards did as commanded, thinking the order came from the king through them as they were superior guards. A day before the prince's 20th birthday, the king called upon everyone in Bawazi to come before the palace as he was to appoint a new chiefs, and planned to eliminate the old chiefs immediately he is pronounced the legendary king of Bawazi. Meanwhile, Queen Eminodo, on the other hand, was getting the young prince ready to also be pronounced king the same day by the old chiefs, and as the law of Bawazi states, only the active chiefs can pronounce a new king. It was in the evening, the very day of the birthday of Prince Moyo. The hall was so filled with people that even thousands of people watched from outside. The crowd was huge. After the king gave a powerful speech of his intentions of appointing a new chief, the queen majestically walks into the palace with 4 of the special guards, and the crowd opens into 2 as she walks in from outside into the crowded place. King Jetto was shocked and wondered how she is still alive, and even heard about the news of his new appointment. As she got closer to the king, she bowed before him and greeted the crowd and went straight to her throne to sit. The king was confused, and everyone was so happy that the queen is still alive, and the whole palace became noisy with side talks. Then the king ordered a silence. As he was about to address the people once more, the 4 chiefs walked in also, and they went directly to sit on their respective royal chairs. The king became more confused and didn't know what was going on, and became scared as to how the chiefs were released from the prison. He ordered the chief jailer to come before him. Before the chief jailer could run down to the palace, lo and behold, the prince of Bawazi, Moyo, the son of the real King Kipo, walks in his royal attire, well adorned with gold and all manner of precious gems. As he walked in, the crowd was speechless and everyone was stunned by his aura, and at the same time in disbelief. Even King Jetto became weak that he could not speak. He saw the throne slipping off from his hands. As he got in front of his uncle the king, he did a bow as customary to royals. Jetto immediately ordered the guards to seize him, but the guards could not, knowing that Moyo was already 20 years and was due to the throne. Moyo laughed at his uncle's order and turned to him saying, "You have succeeded to capture my father the king, which is a heinous crime," and the people stared in disbelief. He continues, "And also plotted to capture and kill my mother Queen Eminodo of Bawazi, and you poisoned the 6 chiefs of this land and their families. But you never succeeded to eliminate the royal bloodline of Kipo, the great and legendary king of Bawazi and Zipporah. It is written in the law of Bawazi that the prince shall ascend the throne of Bawazi at age 20, in the absence of the king by capture, lack of service due to deformity or sickness or death. So I hereby give the permission to the 4 remaining chiefs to carry out the laws as it is written." So a loud and melodious trumpet was blown signaling the beginning of the crowning proceeding. Jetto was seized and not allowed to leave by the order of Moyo the king. And the young Moyo was crowned king in the presence of the people of Bawazi, and they cheered with a joyful voice and clapped for a long time, as they felt so happy once again renewed with the hope that they lost in the kingdom of Bawazi. There was a great feast for 7 days. The people of Bawazi were overjoyed that their rightful king is back and they are no longer under the control of Jetto the evil king. So a week after Moyo was made king, he decided to bring his father back home dead or alive, so he ordered Jetto to return his father dead or alive. Jetto sent a message asking for the release of Kipo, but when Kipo got home, he was too sick to continue as king, so he eventually died 3 months later after coming back home. But before he died, he asked his son Moyo not to execute his uncle, as it is a taboo for the king of Bawazi to kill the king of Zipporah, and vice versa, and that is why he never killed me, he added. So after the death of Jetto, the whole kingdom was very sad and they all mourned for 14 days, for they loved their king so much. Jetto was sent to a maximum prison for life, for he committed a crime called omopiano, also known as treason. So Moyo ruled as, got married and had 4 kids, and ruled over Bawazi and Zipporah as their legendary king. And his mother became the queen mother of both kingdoms, as she was in control of what comes in and leaves the kingdom. And so the people of both Bawazi and Zipporah lived in peace and harmony with each other throughout the reign of Moyo.